Of course, I got my Silent Planet shirt on. They're metal as hell. What's up, guys? Welcome to this episode of Shredheads. I am your host, Jordan Needham. Today's episode is all about how COVID-19 has changed the music industry forever, especially for metal bands, and what can they take from it? What could artists take from this to really actually get a bright side of how COVID-19 has changed things and how the music industry should move forward as a whole, especially in metal, because that's what we mainly talk about. Because it's not all dark, and of course it's not. Maybe that's just the optimistic side of me speaking, and you know what? Call me dumb and stupid and blind to this, because I'm not making money off the music industry. I'm not the one that's suffering from COVID-19 from this, but I do believe there is a bright side about this, so I do want to talk about that. But before we get into this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you like the content, you can leave a comment as well. You can follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'll have those plastered right here. In the description box, I'll have links to all of this as well. And if you really like the content, you can go ahead and share it on social media with the hashtag Shredheads. Tag me in it, and I'll try to engage with you. As long as it's not on Twitter, I'll be there. Got it? Alright, let's get into this topic. So I don't want this to be too long of a video because honestly, I feel like there's so much to unpack about COVID-19 and how it's affected every industry. And so I don't want to get too deep into it because it's really, time will tell what happens, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and talk about what I see and how things are going to look in the future, or could look in the future. So the first thing is obviously all these tours were canceled because of COVID-19. I had 2 tickets to a couple of concerts that got canceled, and you know, I was really fucking bummed out about that. That was back in like April or March. And one of the concerts, the Fit for a King concert, got rescheduled to July. Of course, everybody was thinking like, hey, this is gonna be like a month or two. No way that we locked down the country for months, right? Well, we did. And here we are in August. Remember, that was March. And we're still in lockdown. What the hell? Like, that's crazy. It's crazy to think about. This is gonna be in history books. You've heard this shit, so I don't want to talk too long about COVID-19. But right off the bat, you must be thinking like, holy fuck, these bands can't tour. How are they gonna make money? And that's a fair thing to think about, because obviously it's a source of income for bands. And it can't be good, right? It can't be good. But I want to go ahead and talk about the good side of this. The way I want to start this off is saying that there's plenty of artists out there who just don't tour at all. I mean, there's been a lot of them in history where outside of the metal genre that just haven't. And then especially in the digital age, we got like so many SoundCloud rappers that just don't fucking tour. Because why would they? I mean, touring is super expensive. And I mean, super expensive. If you want some insight on how expensive touring is, I think you should check out the Punk Rock MBA's podcast. He had the lead singer of Counterparts on, and he talked about how, you know, Counterparts is like a decent sized band and they struggle to make money on tours sometimes. I really appreciate the honesty there, because it would be easy to just say, yeah, we're making bank off tours, but it's really not the case in this industry, especially the metal industry. I'll link that podcast in the description and you can go ahead and check that out. But the fact of the matter is, touring is just like extremely expensive. It's very hard to make money off of, especially when you're starting out. So why would you start touring when you're starting out nowadays? If you can just put things out on social media, put it out on the internet, SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, everywhere. And then once you get a fan base, then you can go and tour. I think that's kind of the role that touring is going to take now, where like mostly fans are just going to show up to the show. It used to be that touring really got your name out there. I don't know if that's the case anymore. I think it's just fans that go to tours.
Of course, fans are going to tours, you dumb fuck.
My point is, like, where it used to be like, I'm gonna go on tour because I need to get my band's name out there, and this is the only real way to do it, besides like the radio or whatever. But in order to get on the radio, we gotta tour too. So, right, you gotta get your name to all these venues and all these people and the promoters, and you gotta get your name out there. But now it's just not the same. You know, you could tour all over the country, and if you never released anything on social media or the internet, dude, what is your band gonna do? What are you gonna do with your music? Because you just can't really get anywhere without the social media side of it anymore, without the digital side of it, of course. Obviously, I'm talking to people that stream all their music from like Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud. So you guys all know this shit, right? And honestly, a lot of people just haven't even been to tours. It's rare to go to a tour nowadays. That's not to say that tours suck. I mean, obviously they're really cool, and there's like nothing that can really simulate a real concert, being there, experiencing it. Once you see a band or an artist that you really like in concert, and if they're really good, they put on a good performance, that band or artist has created a lifelong fan. That's definitely a benefit of touring. But again, those people that showed up were already fans. Instead of spreading the word, getting your content to spread out where hundreds and thousands of people can get your shit on social media right away, instantly. I think a great example of people that have started in the music industry without touring before would be like Periphery. I mean, they started mostly off of YouTube and like the internet. I wasn't a fan of Periphery until like a year ago, so I don't know too much about this. Apparently they just started by putting stuff out on the internet, and so they were just like making music in their own house. And then eventually they go, holy shit, we actually have like a pretty decent sized fan base. I think we can go on a tour now. And so we got like Josh A and JakeHill who did the same thing for like, those are rappers for those of you that don't know. They're kind of like metal rappers, if that's a thing. They didn't go on tour for a couple years, I don't think, until they started taking off and blowing up on Spotify and SoundCloud or whatever. I think when I started listening to them, they weren't touring at all, and now they tour, of course. My point is, they built their fan base on social media and on the internet, and then they went out and toured. And I think we're gonna see a lot more of that, because right now, or the way that COVID-19, but I think what COVID might, oh my God.
Go to Joe 30330 and help me in this fight.
Because right now, I think COVID-19 has revealed to a lot of artists and bands that touring as often and non-stop may not be as essential as we first thought. When COVID-19 first kicked off, shit plummeted and it was scary. But as always, people have to adapt, and they've found a way. I read an article about how the music industry, despite the hurt from COVID-19, is still expected to double by 2030. Of course, we know about the economic boom bust cycle, and that probably plays into it. And I think a really cool thing that stemmed from COVID-19 is that more free time from artists means that they have more content that they can put out, because they have more time to make content. And then they also have more time to collaborate with other bands and musicians, which is really cool. God damn it, I'm always talking about Fit for a King, but we can see an example of this, how they collaborated with We Came as Romans, and how they kind of like split songs together, played each other's songs, and it was really cool to see. And I don't think that would have happened if it weren't for COVID-19. Now, I could be wrong, but a lot of these bands are figuring out like, hey, we have so much time, we can put out more content. The receiving end of this is that people have more free time as listeners, so they'll stream your content more. Of course, the streaming services are like booming right now because people are listening to music way more than ever before because they can't go to fucking work. And now, of course, that's a little temporary, but what that might do is people might go, hey, look, when we were touring, we were struggling so hard to get even a single out. It was just stressful. We couldn't write anything. It was just, we didn't want to focus on that. It felt like we just started touring this new album, and now we're gonna have to write some more. Well, now it's not the same. They have this free time and they can go, you know what, maybe we can focus more on writing new things. And that you're seeing that right now. And that is something that metal needs to do anyway. They need to put more content out, period. Most of these bands usually take at least a year, if not 2 years, maybe even 3 years to put out a new album. And that's ridiculous in 2020. You got artists that are putting out shit every month now. A lot of artists don't even release albums, they just put out singles, which to me is a little bothersome, and it kind of annoys me because it's like, I don't know. I love albums, you know? I love playing it from track 1 to track 12 or track 15 or whatever, but that's not a great way to promote your music anymore, just because if you release 15 things at a time, obviously not all 15 of them are gonna get equal sharing time or equal viewing time. Just as if I released like 15 videos on YouTube at the same time, that would hurt my views, because who the fuck is gonna listen or watch 15 things at the same time, right? You can't do it. It's better to just spread things out, and that's why you also see a lot of bands, like I think an example of this would be like Slaves. They released a bunch of their singles, and then their album came out the other day, To Better Days. It's called To Better Days. I said the other day, To Better Days. The album name is To Better Days, and they released like 8 of their 10 songs on that album as singles, and now it's a full album. So they did the singles, and then once the singles were all out, they just like plastered it in an album, said here's the album. Now it kind of bothers me, but it's just the way things are now.
I know apologies won't pardon who we are. The feeling I've repressed is going out of style.
Now, another thing that COVID-19 has revealed is that remote work is possible. You have people collaborating, musicians collaborating from across the country together. Like, we don't have to meet in the same fucking studio to record a song anymore. We can do it in our own house. And even if the production value isn't as solid, it's not 100%, maybe it's 80 or 90%, I don't think fans really care that much. Like, hey, my favorite artist is collaborating with my other favorite artist. That's fucking awesome. And they could care less about whether it sounds amazing or just great. A great example of some remote work that was done is the Parasite Eve music video from Bring Me the Horizon. The band was like stationed in different places around the country, and Ollie had to communicate with the cinematographer over email, or, you know, over phone or whatever. Tell him what he wants for the video and all that, and then he went and shot it without Ollie even being there. After the cinematographer films it and gets everything right, then he sends it into Ollie and he starts editing it himself. Instead, it was like a project where people realize, hey, we don't have to hire a fuckload of people to do this, and we don't have to all be together spending loads of money flying everywhere and getting everyone out there at the same time and all this shit, because production is not cheap. We can do this from our house again. And then he puts it out on YouTube, and I don't know how many views it has now, but that shit is popping off. That music video was amazing too. It's not like a trash music video that someone just threw together like an 8-year-old or something. This is like a professional music video. But again, I don't know if that would have been possible if Ollie had been on tour. And a music video that reaches 15 million people is a lot better than a tour that reaches 2,000 a night. Now, Bring Me the Horizon, their concerts are way bigger than that, but you get what I'm saying. I mean, a concert doesn't have nearly as many people as a YouTube video will reach. Now, of course, the tour might reach thousands and millions, but instantly, a YouTube video can reach millions right off the bat, right after you click publish. As I've talked about this throughout this show, throughout this episode, I've really realized, like, I think the biggest part about this whole thing is maybe this bands are just touring too much. Maybe they could cut down on tours and just spend more time writing, spend more time producing things like music videos and collaborations. I think that's what people really want to see. Another great example of this is Jared Dines. This guy doesn't really tour. I mean, he's been on tours, of course. I saw him filling in for Matt Heafy when I was seeing Trivium, because Matt Heafy was having his son. Jared Dines was filling in, and here he is, a fucking famous guitarist, all because he started a YouTube channel. It had nothing to do with going on tour, right? But of course he's been on tour, he's been places. I'm not saying that, I'm not taking that away from him at all. But the point is, he's a product of the digital age. The metal community on YouTube is giant. We got like Jared Dines, what's the guy's name? Steven. You know, I'm gonna look this up. I'm a fake fan. Okay, so we got like Jared Dines, Stevie T, Nick Nocturnal, Wyatt Staub. We have all these channels that react to music, that make music, that cover music. And now it's becoming this whole new thing that's like more in touch with the digital age, and I love to see it. and maybe they don't go on tour all the time. You can't get that personal experience with them, but is that the end of the world if you get more content? That brings me to this whole idea of like optimized touring, and maybe this is like a little inconsiderate, and it's from a lack of knowledge of how tours work, and they are complicated. So I'm not very qualified to speak on that issue. You got so many people involved when you book a tour, it's stupid. But I think because people can build a fan base on social media now, what they could do is do what I would call like optimized touring, where they decide 100%, all right, we're gonna go to this place and this place, we're gonna go at 10 spots or whatever. We don't have to be on tour for an entire year. We can just do 10 spots wherever we want, and then we'll come back and we'll make more content, and we'll just keep doing that instead of like going on tour for 1 or 2 years straight, struggling to write things, struggling to put things out. So here are my final thoughts on this topic. You can't completely get rid of tours, and nor should you. I think bands do get a great benefit from touring, and you got bands like Ice Nine Kills and Avatar, where their production value is an important part of who that band is. It's a great part of branding their band, but maybe we don't need to tour as much. Maybe we can stay home and instead produce more content and get that to blow up on social media, YouTube, wherever, which tours are not the greatest thing in the world anyways. For fans, they can be cool, but for bands, they kind of suck sometimes. So yes, I love tours, and yes, I miss them, and I wish those concerts weren't canceled, and I can't wait to go to more, but I also want to see these bands have a better quality of life. I want to see them make more money. I want to see them do well. And if this is what it takes, if they don't have to go on tour as often, then you know what? I'm happy for them. So that does it for this episode of Shredheads. If you like this content, go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I'm gonna have all of this in the comment or in the description box. You can go ahead and subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below, and share this on social media with the hashtag Shredheads. Don't forget to tag me in it. Thank you for watching. I think I could have done more research on this video, but again, I'm really just eager to start putting content out there. I probably should have researched this more, and I've had some struggles filming it. I'm not gonna lie to you. But anyways, go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you next time.